Hello and welcome back to another live. We are live on LinkedIn and we are live on Facebook too. Apologies if you did see something for a few seconds and then it went away. My connection to LinkedIn had been disconnected, which is nice. But we are back. Hopefully we are back. So I'm on annual leave this week, so that's nice. Been spending quite a bit of time with the family, which is great. Been spending more time on career dad stuff, which is also great. And I've been getting a lot of questions. I've been getting a lot of questions and having a lot of conversations around jobs and applying for jobs. And I'd actually, when I thought about doing a live, which I haven't done kind of one-on-one live for a while, I've often been with guests, which is really cool too. I thought I want to try and give something back. And so I'd got 3 questions in that I thought were really worth tackling to a broader audience. So I'll obviously keep everyone's anonymity, but I think the actual content of the questions are really, really relevant. So what I would say as well is if you've got any comments, if you want to ask your own question as we go, please just put it in. And if I have time, I'll do my absolute best to get round to them. So we're going to run for hopefully about 15 to 20 minutes today. So here we go. Question number 1 is I've applied for 150 jobs in 3 months and I've had 3 interviews and I've had no job offer. What can I do? So there's a number of things with this. I think job hunting is very time consuming and also it's quite emotionally draining. Like you have to put a lot of energy into an application. And I don't just mean the covering letter and the CV. I mean the actual the networking side and the research into the organization, and not just what the organization does, but what are its values? What does that organization live by, and does it align with your own values and culture, I guess. So my question back to this would be 150 jobs in 3 months. That sounds a lot. That sounds a real large amount of job applications. And my question would be, are you just hitting kind of easy apply through LinkedIn and just send? Because if the answer is yes, then you're probably not going to get anywhere, even if it's 1,500 jobs. It takes a little bit more than that, I think. And I'll come on to the actual specific advice for that question in a second, but I just want to preface that with what I'm about to say, it depends on where you're at. So if you are somewhere that you need an income right now, that you can't afford to take the advice that I'm about to say, then that's a very different ball game. Then I think that sign up to as many agencies and recruiters as you can, and potentially look at getting a job that's going to give you an income, and then look for the job that you actually want to do. Now, that is not advice I'd give lightly. That is if you're looking for an income. I think that people generally expect that when you are applying for a job and you're going for an interview, that it's probably not the only one. So for example, if you did get a job that you weren't as passionate about, but then that stopped you worrying about having an income, and that allowed you to focus on the job that you wanted, and in 3 months you left one job to go to another job, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, personally. However, if you're not in that position, if you're just either you're done with your current job, or you just fancy a move and you're just wanting to do something different, then I'd say 150 in 3 months, it's just too much. It's just I don't see a way that you can be putting everything that you need into actually having the best chance of getting that job. And the reason that's important is because it's still going to feel like a knock to you when you get a rejection, or if you don't hear anything back. And just applying that tactic, you're not going to hear anything back. So you're going to continue putting yourself out there in not the best way to get a rejection or to hear nothing, which is in, effect a rejection. And it's going to affect your confidence. So my advice on that would actually be take a bit of a step back. Think about what it is that you want to be doing, and then try and find those companies and people who work at those companies and connect with them to see whether your idea of what it is like is actually what it's like, if that makes sense. So I think practically what you can do is take a step back. Definitely don't just hit send on Easy Apply. Nothing against Easy Apply. Just, I think that if you're not putting in the effort, you're not going to get where you want to get. So it's actually just a false economy. You're doing things and potentially with the best, the best intentions, but you're doing things to be busy and to feel like you're doing something as opposed to actually doing something that's going to have practical outcomes, if that makes sense. So that was question number one. If, as I say, as I go, if there are questions, do put them in the comments or just say hi, and I'll try and get to those too. So question number two was, when I was younger, I handed my CV in face to face. What's the 2020 equivalent of that? And I hear you. It used to be quite nice, you're 15, 16, walking around town or whatever it was, going into predominantly retail stores and with, hard copies of your CV and handing them in. I did exactly the same. It's how I got my first job. And actually, it's how I got every job up until, quote, my first, office type job. Even though I still employed the same tactic for the office type job. It just didn't work as well. So yeah, I think, so what's the 2020 equivalent? Well, I'm going to unpick that a little bit, because I don't actually think the handing in of the CV face to face was the thing that got you the job. It was clearly your CV and your interview that got you the job, or, back in the day. So what did handing in that CV face to face do? Well, it got you in front of the person who could make the decision. Because you don't normally walk into a retail store or whatever and say, oh, is the manager about? Is the supervisor about? Someone would go and get someone and you'd say, I'm interested in applying for a role. Here's my CV. Would you consider me, or whatever it is? So what it enabled you to do was to present yourself in the best way, to find the person who was able to make the decision or have some influence over the decision, and kind of in a couple of minutes succinctly articulate why you were applying for that job or applying for that position. I don't think that's changed. I just think the way to do it has changed, and the way to do it is digitally. So in terms of you're able to present yourself in the best light, well, that's just personal brand, right? That is just I talk a lot about personal brand. It's actually, thank you for everyone who voted on what webinars they'd be most interested in. First, personal brand. If it wasn't the highest, it was the second highest. So that's going to be a big one. We're going to do a deep dive on personal brand. So, putting yourself forward in the best way is just your personal brand. So make sure that you're doing everything you can to curate your own personal brand. Whether you like the term, whether you don't like the term, whether you believe in it, whether you don't, it doesn't really matter. It exists. It's a thing. You have one. It's best to curate it, because, if you can't tell your own story and your own narrative, someone else is going to fill in the blanks for you. And surely it makes sense for you to put your own version of what you would like in there, as opposed to someone else just making up the blanks. So that's that side of it. And then the other bit of it really is you manage to get yourself in front of the person who could make the decision. Again, that hasn't changed. That's just digitally. That's just finding that right person on my go-to is LinkedIn. I think it's a fantastic platform. So I would say to do that, to make sure that you're focusing on your personal brand, to find the people who are able to make the decisions and to build that relationship. Or if nothing else, to say, hey, I see that you're hiring for this role. It's something that I'm really, really interested in. I'd like to be able to send you my CV and have a chat about it. Could we find a time that suits if you're open to it? You know, so I think that what I wanted to do there was just unpick the actual physical action of handing in a CV face to face, because I don't think that's actually the important thing there. I think it's the kind of the root cause of what makes that important, and then applying that into a new world. So I hope that that's helpful. And the last question, this is quite good. We're taking about 5 minutes each, which is going to lead us nicely to that 15-minute window. So I did enjoy this when it came in. You talk theoretically about making connections on LinkedIn. What's a practical piece of advice on how to do this? And I think this is really timely. And there's a reason that I included it off the back of the other two questions, is because what I was alluding to in the other two answers was about making connections on LinkedIn. And yes, sometimes I do talk about it theoretically, but there are some actual practical things that you can do. Again, I think that out of the webinars that I put forward, this was another biggie that people really interested in: authentic networking and network marketing on LinkedIn. So that is going to be another one. However, I will of course answer the question, what is a practical piece of advice on how to do this? So literally this could be you know, get a pen and paper, and this could be sorry, 1 second. Hello.
Do you like my pea shooters guard in my base?
I love your pea shooters guard in your base. So we're just doing LinkedIn Live.
Hey. LinkedIn Dive.
LinkedIn Dive, brilliant. So I think that this captures the working from home and family struggles. Not struggles, obviously. You're never a struggle, are you?
Nah. Not really.
Right. Can I answer this last question?
Sure.
Thanks. You staying in here or are you going?
I'll stay in here.
You're staying in here. Brilliant. Cool. So how to do this practically? And as I was saying, you know, you could get pen and paper and do this right now. Okay. So it would be, first, think of a company that you would like to work at. Okay. And that could be, you've seen their advertising, you're a fan of their products. It could be, you know, they're saying the right things during whatever is important to you. Whatever it is, a company that you just think would be cool to work at. Go to LinkedIn, search, literally go to the search bar at the top, type in that company, hit enter, and then filter by employees. And you will have a list of people who work at that company. Then let's say your interest is marketing, because I kind of get that. So you would then look through, out of those employees, who works in the marketing department, and more specifically, who works in the area of marketing that you'd want to work in. You could get anywhere from between, you know, 2 to 200 people, depending on the size of the organization and the skill or, you know, vertical that you're interested in going into. So once you've done that, you look through their profiles and you find, you know, they're either talking about things, you know, on LinkedIn, they're commenting on things that resonate with you, or they might have gone to the same university, or they might be in the same area, or they might support the same charity, or whatever it is, that there will be some connection, even if the connection is, I saw your post and I really liked it because of X, right? Then connect, and then go to the connect, and then hit insert personal message or whatever it is with invite, and then just say something along the lines of, hey, I saw X, whatever it is that is your connection, that either resonates with me or whatever it is. It's you reference the connection and then say, you know, also I'm really interested in working or learning more about, you know, Z company. I'd love to connect with you to just be in your network and to learn more about it. There's nothing more. You're not asking for, hey, can I have a job? Or hey, can you refer me? All you're saying is that I've identified that this company is where I'd want to be a part of. Two, I've spent a little bit of time, and I'm talking literally 5 to 10 minutes, to find people who are in that organization and in that area that you want to work. And then 3, you're just saying, hey, I'd love to connect. That's not only is there nothing wrong with that, I think that really demonstrates someone who I, on the flip side of that, would want to have in the organization. And I think that if you go in without an ask, because that's not what you've got, all you're looking to do is to build your network. And doesn't it make sense to build your network with people who are in fields and companies that you want to be a part of? Because then surely their extended network are also people who are in similar things that you might be interested in. So hopefully, I know I talk about it theoretically quite a lot, and that's on me. I think the reason that I do that is because, for whatever reason, this kind of quote authentic networking just comes incredibly naturally to me, and I sometimes struggle to understand how people don't get it. So, and that's not a dig at anyone, I'm just being honest. So that's probably why I talk about it more theoretically, because deep down I think surely everyone gets this, and maybe they don't, and that's cool. But that's why I want to do things like this, and hopefully that you guys find it useful. So just to recap, and as I say, this obviously this is live. The recording of this will be going on YouTube as well. So Career Dad UK on YouTube, so you can watch it back till your heart is content. To recap, it would be think where you'd like to work, go to LinkedIn, type in the company, filter by employees, find authentic connections with said employees, connect, go. That's it. It is as simple as that. So we're going to take a quick look at the comments, and if there are any more questions, I say we. Well, I guess it is we. You're still here, aren't you? Yeah, it is. So we will get to them. So Philmon, this is great stuff. Thank you very much. No, it's an absolute pleasure doing things like this. Like I say, it is my week off work, but it's never time off Career Dad work. And also I just really enjoy just trying to help people. So no, I appreciate you stopping by. And also I love what you're doing with the app and the Kickstarter. And that's really, really cool. And Harvey, right. No, I'm going to put this up because I'm going to know why you want to connect and be the connection you'd want to be. Be kind, connect with people. What's the harm? Have a conversation. You may learn something. If you're inundated with people wanting to connect, then just limit how many people you have a chat with each week. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, Harvey, of what I struggle with. Do you know what? I've been sat down for far too long, and I also want to show off this standing desk. So that's a win-win. So I am going to rise with the desk. But yeah, this is where I struggle with it, because I don't understand. It's the same with like brand strategies and consumer strategies, and just anything that involves someone buying into a product or a service. We're all consumers. We all consume stuff, whether it be a direct mail through the post, whether it be an out-of-home advert or whatever it is. And somewhere along the line, some of us get really confused about how to put across messages. And I think that to your point, why do we not just think, how would we like to receive? And I'm not saying that that's a stopping point, because straw man survey of one type, but I think it's a really good starting point to say, well, how would I react to something like this? And yeah, and I was talking to a guy. I had a guy drop a question in my inbox on LinkedIn last night, and he was one of 25 that evening. And I reckon maybe 3 or 4 people got a response. I used to really pride myself on responding to absolutely everyone all the time, 100%. One, I just can't do that anymore because there's, not to sound how big am I, because it's not like that at all. It's just factual. There's just too much. I cannot focus my time on the things that I need to focus on if I responded to everyone. So that's changed. However, the people that connect and their personalized message is a sales pitch, probably not going to hear from me, because you haven't taken the time to understand if the thing you're trying to sell me is even a thing I need. You're just trying to sell me something. So I think the people who get into my inbox and say, hey, I really like X, or hey, I saw you wrote about this, I'd like your thoughts on it, or like this guy did say, hey, you talk a lot about this, I'm struggling with X, can you offer me some advice? And he got 500 words back, because that's I'm gonna invest the time in there. And so I think that there's so many people who, I don't think that I'm unique in that sense in any way. So I think, Harvey, to your point, it is just knowing who to connect with and why, and be the connection. I love that. Be the connection that you'd want to be, that you'd want to have. It's a really good piece. And Jack coming in with a question on the standing desk. Thoughts on a standing desk? Should people who work from home a lot, like me, invest in one? How much did you spend on it? Also, looking for general advice on any home workspace essentials. Fantastic questions. So this is we are in my home working space. I can give you a little tour. There's a guitar, a whiteboard, another guitar, usually a child, a sofa, and then the desk with everything on it, right? So that's, I shouldn't have picked that up, should I? Ruined everything. Right. So that's kind of my setup. I was used to working from home 1 day a week before lockdown. Sometimes 2, but very rarely, usually 1 day a week. And now obviously it's full time. So should people who work from home get one? I think that's, to some extent, that's personal preference. The reason I got one about 3 weeks ago, was just because I spend a lot of my working day on calls. One, I like to pace when I'm on calls. I like to walk and talk. I have to be very careful now that I'm stood up to not walk around when the mic is here. So there was that. But also I found that I was just sitting down at my desk a lot, and I thought, this situation is going to go on for a long time. And even if it doesn't, I think the new normal is going to involve much more working from home than previously. So yeah, I did invest in this. It's a really, really nice standing desk. It's from a company called Hado, which is Height Adjustable Desks Online. I think they were great. They, even in the midst of lockdown, they shipped it. The communication's been great. I highly recommend it. I'm happy to share a link. This one was not their entry-level model, but it was the second one up, and I think it was about £550. So it wasn't cheap, but I mean, it comes with I think there's like a 10-year guarantee on the motor, and potentially a lifetime guarantee on other parts of it. It's really smooth. It's really classy. The reason that I got this desk that is a step up is because it's a step up. I'm 6'5", and this desk went about 10 centimeters taller than their entry level desk. So that's why I got this. Looking for general advice on any home workspace essentials. I think that does depend on the job that you do. I think the thing that I'm really noticing I don't have is a decent chair. My back and my shoulders and my neck are absolutely crooked, really. So that's something that either I need to look in through work or to invest in. But no, I think that the next thing that I'm going to get for the home office is one of those lamps that's a lamp, obviously, but it's got the Kai, is that how you pronounce it? QI, Kai wireless charging things. My AirPods and my phone are always running out of battery, so it'd be nice to just have something here that I can plonk that on. So good. Thank you for those impromptu questions at the end. That's kind of it. Hopefully you guys found that useful. Like I say, this is going to be going on YouTube as well afterwards. And if you do have any more questions, either around applying for jobs or just anything, this is something that I was doing as part of the Career Dad podcast series as a side. But actually, I just feel it messes things up a little bit. I want to keep the podcast for what it is, and so this style is going to be YouTube predominantly. It's all going to be available on the Career Dad website though, but I want to do more of this, so please do send me your questions on anything, and we'll try and keep them to 15-20 minutes. Final question from Jack then. Let's have it. I see you have a whiteboard. I've been thinking about getting one. Has it helped you, and how? Absolutely. The reason I got this whiteboard was actually when my daughter was born, so the second child, there was talk of this room being taken back as a nursery. And I thought, if I drill a whiteboard into the wall, that really solidifies what I feel this room should be for. So that was the main reason for getting the whiteboard. However, as you can see, there's just notes, right? So I love, given the work that I do in the digital space, I love digital boards. I love Kanban boards. I love Trello. I love Slack. Yeah, I love all that stuff. But I also like, I like a physical list, but I don't like pen and paper. So the whiteboard has been really useful, and I section it into different things. So I've got, I've got a Career Dad email that's going to go out probably tomorrow now. So I've, just got some notes of things that are going to go in there. I'm redesigning the Career Dad homepage. So again, I've erased it off because I needed the space for something else, but I took a photo of it first. So I've drawn out scamps. It's really helped with just thinking about design. And also it's just useful when I'm on, spend a lot of my time on conference calls. I can be on the call, walk over, jot down a note. So I just think it really helps with organization. But the other thing, and massively underrated, is just for drawing, for doodling. So I'm a really big believer in really pivoting your mental focus between tasks. And so if you're doing some deep thinking in something and then you're trying to move on to the next thing, to actually have that break. So sometimes I will just go and draw little cartoons for 5 minutes, and it just gets my mind completely blank, and then I'm good to go back and start another task. So yeah, I think that's been really good fun. I did have a look at one of those that you can draw on and then it takes almost a screen. It's like an interactive whiteboard. It takes like a screenshot and saves that as a photo. But I mean, that whiteboard was about 35 quid or something from Amazon, and an interactive one was much more than that. I just decided I can do pretty much the same thing with this. So that's where we got to. And Harvey says OneNote. Yeah. I don't know. I just like something. I don't know. I like the tactileness of pens. So yeah, that's me really. And if you do get a whiteboard, magnetic eraser is fantastic. Big fan. Cool. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. And like I said, would love your thoughts and feedback if this continued on a semi-regular basis. So have a great day, and we'll catch up soon. Cheers.